Many men believe the path to a woman's heart runs through wealth, appearance, or charisma. But what if the true secret lies in understanding certain psychological patterns, tendencies that women themselves might not fully recognize? Both women and men have unconscious desires, sensitivities, and emotional patterns they can't always identify. The challenge: most men fail to recognize or properly respond to these patterns. In this exploration, we'll examine 10 psychological insights that could transform your interactions with women. The foundation of emotional stability. Women are emotionally intelligent beings. This doesn't suggest irrationality, but rather that emotions significantly influence their relationship decisions, a fundamental psychological need. Their desire for emotional security. Women seek emotional stability in relationships, beyond passion or excitement. They desire reassurance that they won't be abandoned during difficult times. This explains why women are instinctively drawn to emotionally steady men. Men who display composure, particularly during turbulent situations. A man who appears emotionally dependent or volatile quickly diminishes attraction. Why? It signals vulnerability. Women seek security, which comes from your emotional self-regulation abilities. Consider this perspective. If a woman feels responsible for your emotional balance, the relationship dynamic inverts. You become the vulnerable party, and she's forced into a caretaker role. This dynamic rapidly extinguishes attraction. Instead, cultivate composed confidence. When she becomes upset, maintain your composure. When plans falter, avoid complaints or anxiety. When faced with obstacles, approach them with quiet assurance. A man who provides emotional stability becomes a refuge for women, a quality they're naturally drawn to, often without conscious awareness. The allure of selective availability. Human nature contains an undeniable truth. We value scarcity. This explains our fascination with diamonds, exclusive vehicles, and limited release products. They're difficult to obtain. Women follow this same principle regarding attraction, a key psychological insight. Women are drawn to men they cannot completely possess. Men who appear overly accessible, eager, or transparent in their interest decrease in perceived value. She might appreciate the attention, but won't pursue it. Conversely, men who create mystery and distance trigger something profound, a desire to bridge that gap. This explains women's fascination with men who seem detached or enigmatic. It's not about enjoying neglect. It's because her subconscious assigns greater value to uncertainty. How can you apply this understanding? Maintain some unavailability. Create anticipation about your next meeting. Preserve your independence. Develop interests beyond her. Reveal yourself gradually. Avoid complete self-disclosure initially. Let her discover you incrementally. Once a woman feels she's completely won you, her interest naturally wanes. Keep certain aspects just beyond reach, and her pursuit will continue. The subtle impact of vocal depth and presence. One underestimated attraction trigger: a deep, controlled voice and commanding presence. Research indicates that deeper-voiced men are perceived as more dominant, confident, and attractive. This isn't merely preference. It's rooted in evolutionary psychology. Deep voices subconsciously signal high testosterone and leadership qualities, naturally attractive to women. But your voice represents only part of the equation. Your overall presence matters equally. Women respond to men who effortlessly command attention. Presence radiates before conversation begins. It encompasses posture, movement, responses to surroundings. A man with powerful presence moves purposefully, without fidgeting or rushing. He maintains steady eye contact without nervous diversion. He speaks deliberately, giving weight to each word. Conversely, weak presence manifests in slouched posture, anxious gestures, and uncertain speech. These subtle cues signal low confidence, often unconsciously. To captivate women naturally, master your presence first. The stronger your energy, the more magnetic your appeal, before speaking a single word. The desire for emotional variation. Here's something many men misunderstand. Predictability undermines female attraction. Women are wired for emotional experiences. While men may prefer consistency, women often seek emotional diversity. This doesn't indicate a desire for constant drama, but rather emotional stimulation. A psychological insight: women are drawn to emotional variation. This explains why some women pursue challenging men. These men don't offer stability, but provide intensity. They evoke emotional responses. Even frustration or jealousy proves more compelling than comfortable monotony. This doesn't require becoming manipulative, but understand that sameness diminishes desire. This is where emotional contrast becomes essential. Alternate between deep attentiveness and slight detachment. Engage her through teasing, humor, and challenging perspectives. Introduce occasional surprises. Maintain unpredictability, not chaotically, but enough to maintain interest. When she can anticipate your every response or reaction, interest fades. But by creating emotional peaks, excitement, laughter, intrigue, followed by emotional valleys, reassurance, presence, connection, you create magnetic attraction. Easily explain. Emotional diversity nurtures feminine attraction. Master emotional pacing, and sustained interest follows. The attraction to confident leadership. This insight often creates misunderstanding because it's frequently misinterpreted. Despite contemporary narratives suggesting women seek dominance and control, most women naturally respond to men capable of leadership. Why? Because following isn't weakness, it's trust. A psychological insight is women's inclination to follow strength. Not tyranny, not manipulation, but a man they deeply respect, whose direction they willingly follow. They seek surrender, but only to someone worthy of that trust. This explains why masculine leadership proves attractive. When a man demonstrates clear direction, personal responsibility, and calm authority, women feel secure enough to embrace their feminine nature. Resistance diminishes, softness emerges, trust develops. However, when a man appears indecisive, uncertain, or weak, her masculine instinct activates. She attempts control, not from desire, but perceived necessity. Once this occurs, polarity disappears. You're no longer perceived as her partner, but her project. To awaken her deeper attraction, become a leader, not through arrogance, but certainty. Make decisions, establish standards, occupy your space confidently. Become her foundation during challenging times. Masculine leadership isn't about control, it's about direction. And women's hidden inclination is their response to men who demonstrate clear purpose and include them in their journey. The magnetism of quiet assurance. Confidence attracts universally, but most men misunderstand its manifestation. It isn't loud, it doesn't boast, it requires no validation. Authentic confidence remains quiet, and this quietude powerfully attracts women. Quiet confidence enters rooms without demanding attention, yet naturally receives it. It doesn't require speaking over others. It doesn't seek approval, showcase possessions, or convince others of its worth. You recognize your value inherently, and this belief influences everything. Women immediately sense this confidence. It's not communicated verbally, but through your bearing. You remain relaxed, not from indifference, but self-trust regardless of circumstances. Beautiful women don't intimidate you because you don't place them above yourself. Silences don't compel nervous chatter because you're comfortable with yourself. Most men speak excessively when anxious. They boast, explain, pursue. Quiet confidence, however, invites curiosity. It prompts women to wonder, who is this person? Why isn't he trying to impress me? What creates his composure? Once curiosity awakens, pursuit follows. Don't attempt verbal impression. Impress through energy, stillness, presence. Confidence isn't volume, it's certainty. When women sense that calm assurance, attraction naturally follows. Her desire to feel specially selected. Every woman wants to feel exceptional, but differently than most men understand. Flowers, appearance compliments, or constant messages might seem affectionate, but if extended to everyone, or from desperation, they backfire. A psychological insight. Women desire feeling chosen, not pursued, selected above everyone else. She wants to feel you had options, but chose her specifically, not from neediness, but because she stood apart. Generic compliments, like "you're beautiful," lack impact. Everyone says that, but stating, "I could have chosen anyone, but wanted you, because you're different," that resonates deeply. It triggers something primal, a fundamental need to feel recognized, valued, selected. Here's the paradox. Your power to choose her only exists when you're unafraid of walking away. Desperation destroys attraction. Selectiveness builds value. Become the man with many possibilities, who focuses on one. Not from loneliness, but recognition of something extraordinary in her. That's when she stops competing against you and begins competing for you. The desire for wordless understanding. Have you noticed women often say, "I just want him to understand me"? They're not merely referencing conversation. They're expressing desire for understanding without explicit explanation. A psychological insight. Women deeply desire being understood, without words. Why? Because many men listen superficially. They hear words, but miss meanings. They offer solutions instead of empathy. They respond logically rather than emotionally. When upset, women don't primarily seek advice. They seek connection. They want men who notice subtle vocal shifts, eye expressions, small hesitations. Men who sense emotions without requiring explanations. Such men. Rare. Compelling. She tell friends, "There's something about him. He truly understands me." Developing this requires emotional presence. Listen beyond words. Observe expressions. Intuition. Remaining calm. Avoid hasty responses. Absorb her energy. Allow complete expression. Then reflect observations. Something seems different today, not from your words, but your delivery. That single observation creates stronger connection than countless compliments. Learn to perceive her without verbal communication, and she feel more understood than in any previous relationship. The attraction to measured revelation. What characterizes most men? Predictability. They overshare immediately, reveal everything up front, discuss past relationships, traumas, aspirations within hours. This isn't vulnerability. It's emotional unburdening. Women are naturally curious. Another insight, they're drawn to gradual discovery. When a man appears composed, somewhat reserved, slightly enigmatic, he becomes intriguing, not through game playing, but depth. He doesn't reveal his complete story immediately. He discloses, gradually, incrementally, like an engaging novel. This doesn't mean emotional distance. It means offering enough to spark interest, while maintaining some mystery. Each meaningful revelation, without complete disclosure, builds anticipation, depth, fascination. She thinks about you during quiet moments, wonders about your experiences, imagines your thoughts. That imagination becomes compelling. Cultivate mystery, not from secrecy, but self-valuation that prevents immediate complete disclosure. Let her earn access to your inner world, and she value each discovery more, significantly. Her need for emotional safety. Finally, we reach perhaps the deepest psychological insight, emotional safety. Not financial security, not physical protection, but emotional sanctuary, the assurance she can express her complete, feminine, unpredictable, vulnerable nature without judgment. Every woman experiences emotional turbulence, doubts, fears, insecurities. Most men retreat from these, feel overwhelmed, or attempt suppression. But rare men remain steady through emotional storms. They don't fix, they don't panic, they remain calm, grounded, present. When you provide emotional safety, something remarkable occurs. She softens. Resistance fades, testing stops, her authentic self emerges. This moment creates genuine connection, not during intimacy, not during outings, but during emotional vulnerability when she falters, and you remain, without flinching, creating space for expression. This prompts her recognition. I don't know what I'd do without him. Perfection isn't required. Only emotional security, not security meaning predictability. Security meaning emotional strength to accommodate her passionate nature. Once provided, you become unforgettable. Here's the unspoken truth. Attraction transcends appearance, wealth, or words. It emerges from understanding deeper feminine psychology. Understanding these insights transforms your approach. From pursuit to magnetic attraction, you become distinctive, speaking less, communicating more, standing firm while others seek validation, offering depth beyond charm, creating emotional intensity, paired with emotional security. When cultivated, she won't merely want your presence, she needs your essence. You'll occupy her thoughts continually, not through force, but by awakening aspects previously untouched. Master these insights, and your perception of women transforms permanently, as will their perception of you.